lot of people don't work a job in their creative passion. Like they might love to make jewelry, but that's not their profession. You know, they actually show up to a job every day. And so like, what would you, like, how would you say in terms of discipline and time management is the best way if you have a creative passion that you love doing on the side, which is even the case for you with your podcast and your business, because that's not even your, you know, full-time job. What would you say to to keep yourself accountable, to like continue to grow in your craft and discipline when it's actually not required of you?
Yeah, well, especially when it's not required of me. Like I don't technically have to have a podcast. I've identified it as a creative itch. So find what scratches your itch, or not what just find what scratches it, but what is your itch? That's really the first question. Is like, what do you want to do outside of work?
Right. And I think for a lot of creatives, they already know what that is.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, like I think a lot of creatives have that idea already. Like, I really want to pursue more of, you know, writing or whatever it is. But then they don't necessarily know how to keep up with that and how to maintain that when it's not required of them, when it's not, you know, their time is not being compensated for that. And like, there's a lot of other demands on their time.
So as a creative, you can look at athletes, for example, and I read a lot. I listen to a lot of interviews from my favorite writers and athletes. Roger Federer had a really good example of what it meant to be a tennis professional, and it changed my mindset when I was in high school playing tennis, because he is just a professional about it, meaning that he has to be dependable and constant in the sense that, you know, no matter what time of the day it is, as a tennis professional, he has to be able to wake up and serve a point. Whether it's 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., 8 p.m., or 2 in the morning. He's like, I know that I have to, if I'm gonna stake my life on being a tennis professional, then I have to be able to do this at any time of the day.
Right.
So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
You're fine. Well, I think, you know, because I'm thinking of people who are not professionals. I'm thinking of, you know, side passion, side hobby.
Sure.
And so I know personally, like, I did a dream workshop with one of my favorite artists, Zach Winters. He did, you know, the series during COVID where he would invite people to come and like talk about their dreams, their goals, their visions, and, you know, turn that into actionable steps to actually get them to where they want to go. And during my one-on-one session with him, I brought up one goal that I had, which is to be proficient in Photoshop, because, you know, I use Photoshop some for my job and I can kind of know my way around it, but I'm not proficient, and I'm not like to a level where I can create something that's like, you know, what's in my head, I can actually transfer it out onto Photoshop. And so when I was talking to him about that, he told me one actionable step as like, you know, this is not something I'm doing for work. It's not something that I'm, you know, doing because there's any pressure on me. It's just because I want to learn it. But he told me, like, in order to get better at that, I should practice maybe using a tutorial on YouTube or something for 1 hour a week and make that a goal. And after 40 weeks, I've put in 40 hours of learning Photoshop, and it hasn't even cost me that much on a weekly level. You know, 1 hour a week, I can find that in my schedule. But, you know, if I were to like look at it and take it as like, oh my gosh, I have to do this every single day, and like I need to be able to do this in like, you know, 2 weeks, I need to be able to do everything. Like, that's not necessarily realistic, and that's not helpful. But just having like a goal that is like small and like very feasible, and like something that even excites me, because like, you know, if I have to learn like the boring parts of Photoshop, that might take up some of my time. But the reality is I am teaching myself at this point, so I can go
well, there's a lot of techniques
find
I can
like
talk
tutorials.
I like that you brought up things that don't excite you, but you still do them anyway. And I have some techniques that can really help you like move over that hump, and because you'll encounter it no matter what during the learning process.
Right.
You're gonna encounter ideas and tasks and just objectives that you don't find entertaining as much as the other stuff, but it's still required.
Still part of the process. Yeah.
I have some things that can help with that. Well, let's take a step back though and talk about the mindset of time management and when it comes to creatives, because you and I have talked about a lot off screen, but sometimes people who are very open to new ideas and very exploratory and very creative, they see a time schedule as a dictator or a tyrant, meaning that they have to submit every minute of their day to this time schedule. But that's not really the case. Like it's not really a parent-child relationship with time management as much as it is like a student-teacher relationship. Or a business partnership relationship, but like really like it's going to be your ally. Time management is an ally in your toolbox that once you really understand and have a dialogue and cooperate with it, it will really feel what you want to get done in terms of creation. So time management is an ally, not a dictator. And how you there are ways to be there are ways that time management is really negative and destructive to you, and there's a way that it can be really good. So you don't want, and here's the part that people really fear about time management. No matter wherever I go, who I've talked to about time management, they have pretty much the same fears that like I am gonna lose spontaneity if I follow this plan. They always think that it's a sacrifice of spontaneity.
That's a big thing for creatives too, because creatives are usually, not always, but usually very spontaneous people. You know, we go with the flow. Like when I feel like, when I'm inspired, you know, those types of words, then we do stuff. Then we take action. Yeah.
It's easy to feel that way if you are an island of a person. You know, if you don't have to be accountable for anybody, that is an easy attitude to take. But then you realize it doesn't tell you how to operate either, which is kind of like what we're talking about. It's like, I like to use this example a lot, which I've learned from one of my mentors, that imagine you and I were in a helicopter, and we're like flying across the ocean, and I drop you off somewhere in the ocean, just into the water, and I say, all right, you can go any direction you want, because that's basically 24 hours a day. You have 24 hours a day, you can do whatever you want with it. If you're in the middle of the ocean, go wherever you want. The ocean doesn't really tell you what to do or how to go about it, which is the problem, right? But if I drop you down in the ocean and then I give you a map and I say, here's an island in this direction, then you can start channeling your energy. Like, okay, well, I could swim in any direction I want, but I'm going to run out of energy. And so before my energy runs out, I might try to start swimming in this direction of the island. So the time management in this example is like, time management is like the island for you. So we need to all craft an island that we can really use as a beacon and view it as a way to navigate yourself. Because otherwise you're just going to drown. Yeah. You're going to drown. And if you don't, like, just because 24 hours today might not seem like a big deal if you waste it. No, because you might, like, but you have the same 24 hours a day tomorrow. And the same 24 days after that. 24 hours again and again and again and again. It might be very...
And it feels like just days are going by,
it feels like it's go by, you haven't done anything.
And months.
Or and you lose direction.
Yeah.
So time management is an ally in the sense that it can give you a sense of direction and give you guidance. And if you're lucky, by listening to this podcast, you can really think about how to structure that first. You can really talk about what you want from your time and negotiate with your schedule. Meaning that if you really want spontaneity, it's like, don't think of it as losing out on spontaneity. It's like schedule spontaneity, schedule for dead time.
Schedule spontaneity.
You can schedule spontaneity. You really can.
Like a paradox.
It does. That's the thing. It's the paradox, but it is, there are a lot of contradictory things in life, and this is one of those that's really, everyone thinks it's like counterintuitive, but it actually, it is. Once you start practicing it and identifying, you can really unlock a lot of potential within yourself.
Yeah.
So we should start there. It's like, don't look at time management as a tyrant, as only a tyrant. You have to think about it as a good ally as well.
Yeah.
So then, scheduling meditation time to journal, time to create, that has no other objective than to just enjoy.
Yeah.
As a creative, if you're gonna be a musician, like, you probably need to be making songs to monetize, but you could also write songs that have no other purpose other than enjoyment.
Yeah. like we've talked about on the podcast before, the concept, one for me, one for them. You know, you make one piece of art, whatever it is you do, just for you because you enjoy it, and you don't necessarily have to share it with the world or try to make money off of it. But then you make one for them, and you share that with the world, and that's your business, you know? But your whole identity and your whole life as an artist doesn't have to be your business. You know, it can also be enjoying what you do and doing it just for you and never sharing.
And once you start building up a like a database of all a journal or log of all this time management, you can start. It's fun. I think you can look back and identify trends that you do.
Yeah.
So then you can start picking out like, what am I like during this season of the year versus this season? Like, what am I like in the winter versus the spring? What am I like during the summer versus the winter?
Yeah.
You can really start figuring out like.
I think those things really do vary, especially like if you live in a place where there's very different seasons, you know, like like in the winter, you can't go out as much per se. And so therefore maybe you're creating a lot more, and maybe you're sitting inside and reflecting and thinking a lot more, and that affects your art, you know? It's really interesting. I've never thought about the seasons affecting.
And if you're a student in high school or college or post-grad, or trade school, whatever, it's like, well, parts of the year you're gonna have to be in class.
That's true. In the summer you'll have more time.
And so, I mean, depending on where you are in life, your time management will change as it's needed. You don't have to worry about it being a concrete ruler who can never change, because you are the one who gets to have a conversation with your time management. Sometimes, you know, there are, like I said, there are necessities in your life that you really need. Like
you don't get to decide, I don't feel like showing up to work today and not show up, or I don't feel like being a parent today and not parenting your kid.
So different seasons of your life will give you a different layout every time.
Right.
So it's like when, you know, before you and I had met, you know, I didn't have to sacrifice much of my time for a relationship. But, you know, once I found out that I wanted to be in a committed relationship, you know, the dialogue and negotiation had to not only include myself, but it had to include you too. And I wanted you to be there. Right. It's just like figuring out what are the things I really want versus what I thought I wanted. You know, like allow yourself room to grow and change, because that's what's going to happen no matter what. Like time's going to change you, time's going to mature you, and just you know, by being proactive about time management, hopefully you might get lucky and you may have a say in it. You may get to have a vote, you know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes...
I feel like that's especially the case for parents, you know? Yep. Maybe you get a say in it, but, you know, if your newborn's crying in the middle of the night, you don't get to say, I'm going to sleep 8 hours tonight.
You don't.
Like, you really don't.
Right.
And there's, you know, a lot of other situations too, but definitely, like, parents, like, that's a big one.
Yeah.